What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Everyday Witness. I am sad to say that this is one of the last ones in Knoxville, but I have been grateful to do it up here, and I'm excited to take it outside of Knoxville. But last but not least, on the Knoxville area podcast is none other than the last of the interns that I've interviewed, and this is the one, the only Maddie Wright. Please tell me I got that right.
You did.
Yes, I got it right.
You did.
Awesome. For those of y'all who don't know, Maddie is the only female intern with us, but she is actually the longest tenured intern as far as interns go. And Maddie, why don't you kind of, not just about that, but kind of introduce yourself and tell them what it is that you have done and do.
Yeah, so I have worked in our student department since January. I just turned this off. Or I hit some button. Is it still on?
Yeah.
Okay. I've worked in our student department since January. I think I'm just gonna, so I don't mess with it.
You're good.
So sorry. So I worked in students since January, but before that I spent the previous August to May working in our missions department, and then January of that year joined in and split my time and did our college ministry, so half college ministry, half missions department, till May. And then in May I moved and spent the summer in the Middle East doing mission work, and then came back, just kind of hung out for a little bit until a job opened up and I got to come back to Concord and work.
Well, that's awesome. So why don't you kind of give them a little background as to where you're from, where you went to high school with that, and all that?
Yeah, so I was born and raised in Knoxville, have always been at the church that I'm working at right now, Concord. I went to school, they have a school there too, and I went there from preschool all the way up until 8th grade. Until I was in high school, I switched to our public school, Farragut, and finished out my school there, just as kind of a break. It's hard being in the same building 6-7 days a week, and so I just needed a change of scenery. So I went to Farragut for high school.
All right. And do you go to college as of right now?
I do go to college. I just finished up 2 years at our community college, and I'll be part-time online at the University of Tennessee in the fall.
And while you're doing that, you've been telling us that you're actually going to be not in the States. You want to kind of give a little background as to that?
Yeah. I won't be in the States at all, so I'm getting my degree in social work, but I'm doing a missions residency through the International Mission Board, where I'll spend 5 months in England working with a local established church over there. So basically doing what I do here, but in England with a whole bunch of different backgrounds and different religious beliefs, but still working with students and young people at that new church. So praise the Lord, the UT is able to do some part-time online classes for me, which was a huge blessing just with the way my program works. So it was very evident that the Lord wanted me there in the fall. So
that's actually exciting.
Yeah, I'm pumped. That's what my next steps will look like. I have no idea what I'm doing in England. I know nothing.
Sometimes that's a good way to do it, though, because then the Lord's going to open doors through that.
Yeah, I feel like I'm very a person who's like, okay, I want to be prepared. I want to know what's next, which I've learned, you can't really know all of that when working in ministry. So the Lord's definitely teaching me a lot of I'm not sure if patience is the right word, but it's the only word I could use to kind of describe what the Lord's teaching me right now with that.
Well, that's awesome. Well, speaking of the Lord, you kind of give us a little background as to your walk of faith, whether when you accepted Christ, when you got baptized, the whole shebang, and kind of where the Lord's been leading you since then.
Yeah. I grew up in church. I was a staff kid at church, which you can relate to.
PKs! We love PKs!
So I feel like I was, never not at church. They're early, they're late. But I didn't actually accept Christ and make my own personal relationship with Him until I was in 7th grade. At Concord, I was at just a Wednesday night where they brought in a guest speaker. Wade Morris was speaking, and I made my relationship with God real and accepted Christ in December of my 7th grade year, and then waited a whole over a year to get baptized, till spring of my 8th grade after a D now at our church. And again, Wade Morse was speaking, and I got baptized in spring of my 8th grade year.
That's awesome. How has the Lord kind of been on your heart recently? Well, I won't say on your heart, but how has the Lord kind of been leading you since then?
Yeah, I think I didn't have like one of those testimonies that was like, oh, I went from like death to life. Like I always knew what the Lord was. I never had like the trialist things. I feel like the hard parts of life for me came like after I accepted Christ, which I always struggled with. I was like, wait, I'm a Christian now. Like I thought things were supposed to be good. And so when I started to like really struggle, just with like my physical health and my mental health, that's when I was like, okay, Lord, what the heck? And the Lord has really like sustained me and brought me through that. And through that, I've been able to like experience a call to ministry and just see what the Lord has for me.
Well, that's awesome. So obviously everybody has a story, whether it's their testimony or whether it's just a story where God has really either led them through not only maybe it's their baptism, maybe it's them accepting Christ, or maybe it's before or after either of those, or during one of those. But everybody's got a certain story that God has always kept true to their heart, and obviously that's what I'm searching for. But what is a story that you feel like God has led you to and put on your heart recently to share with us today?
Yeah, I think my testimony of just like what the Lord has brought me through has always been on my heart. My freshman year of high school is when I really started to struggle with my mental health. I started to struggle pretty much in 7th grade, around the same time I was accepted Christ. But I would say my freshman year of high school is when it got really bad, and then we entered into like the COVID realm. And so that isolation and not being able to be around people didn't really help. But I would say like things were pretty bad. I was addicted to self-harm. I was very suicidal, had lots of like suicidal ideations. And I just remember thinking, like praying to the Lord all the time, be like, Lord, like, please don't wake me up in the morning. Like, please don't wake me up in the morning. Like, please just like let me come to be with you. Like, that's all I want. And I remember just the Lord being like, you're not done. Like, I have a plan for you. And all I could think about was like, Lord, how could you have a plan for my life? Like, between all the things, between all the deaths, why would you let me do this? Why, between the abuse, like all of this, like, it just doesn't make sense. There's no way you have a plan for me. And I was talking to a friend between after my sophomore year of high school, and she was like, Maddie, like, have you heard of the verse Jeremiah 29:11? And I was like, yeah, like, of course I have. Like, that's the most basic verse out there. Like, everyone knows Jeremiah 29:11. And she's like, well, okay, then, like, what's the context of Jeremiah 29:11? I was like, I don't know the context of Jeremiah 29:11. And she was like, then you don't really know the verse. And I was like, okay, what's the context? And she was like, well, the Israelites have been held in captivity for so many years at this point, like 40 years. And they're like, how? It's either 40 or 70. Now I'm doubting myself.
I can't know off the top of my head. I can't say I can help. Wait, no, it was 40.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Pretty sure it's 40.
Pretty sure it's 40.
I'll look at it.
And she was like, you know, she was explaining the context of the verse to me. And she was like, you know, the Israelites had been held in captivity for 40 years. And the Lord is like, we still have a plan to sustain you. And I remember being like, something about that conversation, something about just like seeing how the Lord had sustained people 2,000 years ago, however, 7,000 years ago, however long that was, and being like, okay, well, if he can like sustain people through desert for 40 years, like he can sustain me and has a plan for my life. And that's when like Jeremiah 29:11, you know, for I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you, not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future, really clicked for me for the first time, where I was like, okay, like the Lord is good and he's sovereign and he has a plan for my life.
Well, that's awesome, actually. Kind of puts me in my next question, actually. You kind of stole my thunder a little bit with that one. But obviously, with the story that you just told, everybody has a story in the Bible that, and I've heard so many amazing instances where God has used different stories in the lives of Jacob and the lives of Abraham and Isaac and Joseph and David and Solomon and Saul and all that. Like, there's so many amazing stories, and I've heard it from Jacob Bailey, from Austin, from Andrew, from Harper, from Rhino. Everybody's got a different story that they feel like the Lord has always kept close to their heart. And there's obviously the verse too, but I kind of want to more focus on the story aspect. But do you feel like there's a story that has been on your heart, whether it's before you got baptized or before you accepted, in between that baptism and all that, or just in general that the Lord has kind of kept close to your heart throughout your life?
Yeah, I was actually talking to this with one of the other leaders at SLU a couple weeks ago. Something the Lord just really put on my heart recently as I like discern my call to ministry and like how the Lord wants to use my story to, for His glory. I think about the story of Peter a lot and the story of Judas, just seeing as like both of them, totally like betrayed the Lord and were like totally ostracized. Everyone was like, "How could you do this?" And Peter knew what to do, and he knew that he could go back to the Lord no matter what, and that he would able to the Lord would forgive him, and he would be able to have hope again and have life again in the Lord through that forgiveness that He gives us. And Judas didn't. Judas was so wrapped up in his shame and guilt that he went out to a field and killed himself. And so I think about that a lot, of just like two people who, had the same sins, who betrayed Jesus in the flesh at the same time in different ways, but ultimately did the same thing. One knew what to do, one knew he could always go back to the Lord, and one got so wrapped up in the guilt and the shame. And so I think about that a lot, as just I think that's so much of people, especially the young people that we work with, of okay, I'm either know I can go back to the Lord, or I know that, or I don't know that, and I get so wrapped up in my guilt and my shame. And so I think about that a lot, just as I go throughout. And that's one of the stories that's been on my heart. I think my ultimate dream would be to work in some sort of nonprofit that's called Peter's Hope.
Love that. That's actually awesome. I didn't think I would hear something like that today. That's really cool. I like that. I really like that.
Full of surprises.
I know. Trust me. I've been with you for 2 months. We've had some very fun surprises since this year. Speaking of surprises, what has been the most crazy thing that you feel like has happened in our, I wouldn't say intern group, but I would say in the student ministry, besides obviously certain things that are changing? What do you feel like it was one of the funniest stories that you remember from us all hanging out this summer?
Oh my god.
To kind of let them see what the heck goes on behind closed doors with us.
There is so many. I feel I don't know if you were even there, but
I probably wasn't.
At Wild Week, just we had 32 inflatable tires to blow up for Redneck Olympics, and we all just sat there for probably an hour trying to blow up 32 inflatable tires.
Yeah, y'all stole all the inflatables. I sat in the back because y'all took all the inflators. I was watching.
I think we only had 2 pumps to blow them up with.
I know. And I had to watch, and I felt awful because I felt like the Lord was like, "Hey, dude, watch this." And I was, obviously it's not true, and please don't strike me down. But I saw that and I was like, man, I need to figure out something to do. So I literally went in the back and I was helping Brandon with his slides. Shout out Brandon. But I was really helping him with his slides the entire time we were blowing up stuff. And then Harper's like, "Hey man, come help us out." So I literally started taking the tires from the front and I started throwing them at you back there. You probably remember this. I started throwing them at you because I didn't know what to do because all y'all were doing stuff and I was like,
"What do I do?"
I got it. Oh! I just started throwing them in the back as soon as Austin and Andrew were done pumping them up.
It took us an hour, and the best part is we didn't even use them.
No, we did. Yes, we did.
We used 8 of them.
Do you not remember Cletus?
I remember Cletus.
That was why we used them.
I thought we only used 8 of them. Did we use all of them? I don't know.
We used 16.
Okay.
But then they also threw them all across the rooms. Technically, we used all.
So technically, okay.
Yeah.
I also hosted, I emceed a bunch of food eating contests in a hot dog costume.
That was hilarious.
And that's probably,
for the middle schoolers, y'all know this, but the high schoolers and everybody else who thinks we're insane, no. Wild Week, one of our themes was Hunger Games?
Hunger Games.
It was Hunger Games. So the idea was everything was food related. So when we did it, we decided that would be Maddie's night to host. And she knocked it out of the park. It was freaking awesome. Only problem was it mashed potatoes? Was that the night we did mashed potatoes?
Yes.
We had to make these bags of mashed potatoes. And she hated it. I hated it too, but she hated it.
I think I ordered like...
You ordered like
160 bags of mashed potatoes.
We only needed like 12.
And we did not need that many bags of mashed potatoes.
I don't even think we needed the 12. We probably could have done 6.
We probably could have done just 1 bag per team, but I think I ordered like
60
bags per
I got
team.
I got some in my bag that I already packed up to go home.
Do you really?
I found them.
We
and I put them in my room before
so many leftover mashed potatoes. Like I can't think of like why I ordered that much.
This is why I didn't order anything. Because if I did, we would have had bananas. A lot of them. For no reason whatsoever. But just to have them.
Sam came out to me at Wild Week and he was like, hey, we'll get all serious. And he's like, hey, like, I think you're doing a great job. Just like for next year in the future, like, I think one thing you could really work on was order less mashed potatoes. And I like literally I was like, okay, like, I did something wrong.
And he turned it into the greatest joke of all time.
Yes.
That was...
And then they got all over the stage. And I hosted that night in the hot dog costume, and I couldn't see out of my peripheral vision.
Yeah, you were locked in. I was in the back just hanging out. I was just DJing it up, hanging out, having a good time, and you were just like, with all the mashed potatoes.
Well, like, because of where the, like, mashed potatoes, or no, because of, like, how the hot dog costume is, and it's, like, this, and the hole for your face, like, I couldn't see out of my peripheral vision.
It was definitely something that I hope I never have to experience again. For the sake of that smell is still...
I don't think I can eat instant mashed potatoes anymore.
Well, that's why you don't make instant. You make real mashed potatoes, or you buy them from like a fast food place.
Yeah,
that actually makes them good, like Popeyes or something random like that. I just threw something out there that could definitely be
Popeyes or something random like that.
Well, I'm Louisiana. That's how it works.
Oh,
but anyways,
you're right.
Back to gospel. Sorry, a little sidetrack. I had to do that because she had the best stories of anybody. It had to be. But obviously everybody has a great story, and I probably already know the answer to this, but everybody has a life verse, and I feel like you might have already said it, but just in case I'm wrong, what do you feel like your life verse, or a verse that's been close to your heart for most of your life would be?
Yeah, definitely Jeremiah 29:11, which I always like, oh, that's so, like, basic, and like all the frat boys.
I don't think it's basic. That's the first time I've heard it in 11 episodes, so this is not basic, but please continue.
I feel like I'm always like, oh, and I just like, oh, and so all the frat boys have like Jeremiah 29:11 or like Philippians 4:13 in their bio, you know. And it's like, but it like truly,
frat boys?
It's yeah.
Where did that come from?
I don't know. It's like, you know.
I'm gonna tell my brother that he is a frat boy.
But I think like truly like knowing. Just my friend, like, and she's, like, so dear to me, knowing, like, what the context is and just the way that she, like, cared about me so much and took the time to, like, teach me what that verse meant and what the context was just really, like, means a lot to me, and so I hang on to it a lot.
Well, that's awesome. Is there any, I'm trying to think of how I word this. This might be the last question I can think of because my brain hurts. Been a long day. But... is there any part of this summer that you feel like God really just showed? And obviously, work with me was insane, so I'm sorry you had to deal with that. Because trust me, I know my parents.
Best summer ever.
I don't know about that, but for me it was. I don't know about y'all, but it was awesome. But do you feel like there was a moment this summer where you really just saw God just? I want to say just there. And I think there's Madeline, but but you can text her if you want. But
it's unlocked.
Yeah, in case y'all didn't know, this is the night of the interns game night. So we're the first two here. This is Maddie's house, by the way. But I'm pretty sure Madeline's here. That's the other intern. Not for us, for missions. Shout out
Paxton.
Missions. Tell her, come on up, it'd be funny. Is it her or is it Andrew though?
I don't know. I just texted our group chat and said, whoever is here, I think the door's unlocked.
Spooky.
It sounds like they came in.
I wonder who it is. Anyways, back to the other day. But you feel like there was one instance this summer where you saw God just so evident in what we were doing.
Yeah, I think like in everything we did, the Lord was so evident. Like through all of our camps, and just like the mundane things we did. It's like the Lord was here.
Who is it?
That was Madeline. She said be there in like 6.
So it's
But I
probably
feel like
Andrew.
someone is in my house right now. I think like one of the ways I saw the Lord move the most this summer, just like in my personal life, I think like with the journey of my mental health and like with the self-harm addiction and with the suicide attempt, like all that, I never thought I would see the Lord like use that, or use that in any way, shape or form. And I had like multiple students at camp, like both of our camps this year, that told me like I'm struggling with the sin of self-harm, like I'm struggling with suicidal thoughts, and because like I have been through that firsthand and knew what they were experiencing, I was able to minister to them in a way that other people probably couldn't have. And I just like genuinely like probably like a year ago or a little over a year ago, I could like see a razor blade and still like go into a dark place from just seeing that, and just seeing like how the Lord has worked in my life through that. And now that I get to like share it with others and minister to other girls that are struggling with the same thing, it's been so sweet and so special.
Well, that's awesome. And I'm trying to think. I think that's all the questions I can think of. But one thing I will say is this, is that I hear the dog first off. But it's been a pleasure serving with you this summer, and it's been a pleasure for y'all to see kind of a glimpse into who I've been hanging out with and who has been part of my life this summer. But thank y'all so much for tuning in for these past few months. We're not done yet, but we got. What's up?
Come in.
Come on in. Who is it? Is it Preston or is it Andrew?
It's Andrew.
Oh shoot! It's Andrew, y'all. No, you're good. We're literally just signing off. You can wave if you
I'm
want.
just listening to the live episode.
Be so
This
live.
Andrew's here. Andrew, you can say hi if you want. There's Andrew. This is for half the interns now, but thank y'all so much for tuning into the Knoxville part of our podcast, and hopefully pretty soon you'll get to see people from Shreveport and Marshall as well. But Maddie, thank you for joining,
Thanks for having me.
and thank y'all for watching. Y'all stay tuned for more episodes later on. Peace out.